Hello everyone, so I'm here today to do my wrap-up for the month of October, and in the month of October I read 10 books and my current Storygraph TBR is at 18 books, so it has grown a couple of books but still nothing crazy, nothing worrying. That's okay. I have very purposely ordered some books for book clubs and other things, so that's why it's growing, but it's nothing concerning, so very happy with my TBR being under 20 books. I think that's probably my sweet spot. And about the books that I have read this month, the first one I finished was The Wild Remedy by Emma Mitchell, and this is a non-fiction. So Emma Mitchell had quite severe depression, and to get out of it she forced herself to go into nature to try to feel better about herself. And we follow her throughout the year. Starts in October, and every month has a new chapter, and it has some beautiful illustrations and some beautiful photos as well. So things like this, or things like this, or let's see if I find an illustration, things like this. It's full of those, and it's very meditative about nature itself, the things that are happening and starting and ending, and like the cycles of nature, but also about the effect that has on her health. And she does go a bit deeper into how she's feeling every month and the ups and downs of her own depression, and how this year was different due to the fact that she made herself go into nature every month, every day. I'm not sure if it's every day, but more often than she would have, and yeah, the effect that has on her health. And I found it very interesting. I really enjoyed this. I think the message was maybe a little bit oversimplified. It was just making the point that being in nature is good for the mental health, but it didn't go a lot deeper than that. But I think it was beautiful to see someone be so mindfully present in the moment, just being in nature. And I think it will be, I have read this in one go, but I think it will be very interesting to reread this, reading each chapter each month. I might do that at some point. And the next book that I finished is We Are Green and Trembling by Gabriela Cabezón, Cámara, and this is about a man that is a trans man, and so he left the Basque Country as a young girl, and now he is in the New World in America, and he's kind of looking at the colonial aspect of it, the trans aspect of it, and he's looking back into the Basque Country and the things that he misses and he doesn't miss about that place. And I found it very interesting. I think Gabriela Cabezón Cámara is an absolutely amazing writer. I have loved everything that I have read from her. I think this is not as playful with language as some of her other books, or at least it didn't come across in the translation as much as other books, but I think it was still really, really good, really, really well done, and I'm looking forward to reading more from her. The next book that I read is Gaza, the Story of a Genocide, which is a collection anthology situation published by Verso. And I got this as a proof copy from NetGalley, so thank you NetGalley and Verso to let me read this book. And I think I'm so happy for it because it's a very important book. It's a book that I would recommend to anybody that is interested in the genocide that is happening in Gaza. And I am, I'm considering buying a physical book for myself. The essays go into so many different perspectives of the same thing. So some of them looked at the Israeli soldiers and what they were doing, how they were doing these performative videos of the genocide in their social media as if it was a joke. There were some discussing the actual politics of what's happening and the lack of morality of Netanyahu. There were some that were going into personal stories of people in Gaza. There were some that were going more on the statistics, and there were also some that, like, there were 2 or 3 that were going into the statistics of not only human lives, but also animal and plant life lost. One of the most impactful facts that I got from the book for me is that not only they have killed so many thousands of people, they've also destroyed 85% of the plants in Gaza. 85% of the plants. How much you have to destroy 85% of the plants? If you think about your own country, if you think about killing a lot of people, you would just think, okay, they bomb the cities and they die. But to kill 85% of the plants, it's a different level of destruction and completely like mass genocide. There was also some essays that were, I think, very important, going into the mentality of how you create a genocide. It's not just about killing people, it's also killing the land, killing any hope that they would be able to come back and find anything that they find familiar, and like the scattering of people and how that creates genocide, even if you don't kill every single one person on that group. And there was also one essay that I think it was very important, and it gave me a lot of language to discuss these things, about how calling out Israel is not anti-Semitic, and how that is a terrible thing to say, because then that says that there is something inherently Jewish about what's happening in Gaza and the genocide, and that's obviously not true. Jews don't commit genocide as a principle. The thing that they are doing, the genocide that they are performing, is a colonial act, not a Jewish act, and colonialism is at the root of these actions, and that is why calling out Israel is not anti-Semitic. And I think that gave me a lot of language to discuss this more eloquently. I have done a full review of this book actually, so you can check that out, because I think it's very important and I got a lot from it, and I will 100% recommend. And then the next book that I read is Atusparia by Gabriela Wiener, and this is a confusing book. This follows 2 women that met in primary school, and the primary school was called Atusparia, which Atusparia is the name of a revolutionary leader in Peru from the 1800s, and the school was based on communist Russian ideals. So all these kids were learning about the Russian ideals, the communist ideals, and they were encouraged to follow them through with violence as well. And these 2 women, we see them meet at primary school, and that as they grow, the paths that they take based on these revolutionary ideas, but they their names are mixed up. There is one of them that is on the more violent side of things, that is called herself Atusparia as a nickname for the actions that she does, but it's sometimes difficult to see which one is which, because they use the same nickname. Sometimes it's difficult to follow sometimes. I like the points that it was making, and I like the writing, like sentence to sentence level writing, but the structure was a little bit too chaotic for me. So yeah, this one I really liked, but I don't think it's going to become a favorite, just because it didn't have the cohesion that I wanted it to have. The next 2 books that I'm going to talk about are Royal Assassin and Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. So these are the number 2 and 3 of the first year trilogy. I read the first book last month, and I read these 2 this month. and I have made a vlog about them, so that will come sometime this month, I think. And these books are very slow, and I know everybody loves Robin Hobb, and I think she is very good at developing her characters, and she's very good at the relationships and the deeper inner thoughts of characters, but plot wise it's like nothing happened, especially in this one. Nothing happened for like 500 pages, and then everything happens in the last 200 pages, and so the pace was killing my reading experience, and I decided to switch to the audiobooks of this, because otherwise I was not, like, it was taking me so long to get through this. And I think in audiobook they work better, just because I can zoom out a little bit out of the parts that are like very mundane, and sometimes I like slow nothing happens kind of books, but the thing is that in this one, like, we can follow a whole chapter about how Fitz, the main character, learns how to use an axe, or how Verity uses a chisel to carve a dragon, or stuff like that, that it doesn't feel relevant in any way to these characters or the story or any of that. So for me, it just, like, the pace just doesn't work. I think the sentence to sentence level is amazingly beautiful, and there are so many quotable sentences here. I think the characters are very well done, and I think the relationships are very well built, and the atmosphere is very good, and the world building, you can clearly see that she knows what she's doing with the world. But the pace was just killing me. And maybe it's just because they are fantasy and I have a different mentality going into fantasy than I go into other types of books, but I just found them very, very slow. And I might pick it up, the next trilogy, in audiobook, or I might not. I don't know. I don't know if I will be able to find them in audiobook. It's in one of the platforms that I have available, and the library doesn't have the next trilogy, so I might just leave it there, because yeah, they were very slow. The next book that I finished was Queen's Gambit by Walter Tevis. This is, I'm still not sure if this is a young adult or just a coming of age kind of book. My library has it both, has one copy in the young adult section and one copy in the adult section, and I don't know if it's in the adult section just because it has a very famous TV series, or it's just because it could be both. I don't know. This follows a young girl that she's an orphan and she really loves chess, and so she becomes one of the masters at like 17, 18. And we follow her from when she was like about 8 in the orphanage, when she started learning how to play chess, until she became like super famous and super good and won against all of the Russian modern masters and all that stuff. And I think it was a good story and I liked reading it. I think it was a bit oversimplified, that's why I think maybe it is young adult. But also there were, it was very fast. It's not very big book, and we go from when she's 8 until she's 18 really, really fast. And so for me it felt like when she's 16, 17, 18, she starts developing some behavioral issues like alcohol and drugs and sex and all of that, and that happened like 50 pages after she was a 9-year-old girl learning chess. And so for me that was a bit fast, and I did not completely grasp that she was growing so much, so it was kind of disturbing. And I did like that she was clearly struggling with alcohol and depression, and she was also struggling with her chess. Like she didn't win every single game that she played. Some of them she lost, and she had to go back and relearn herself and recenter herself so that she could maybe win next time. So that was nice. Seeing her fail was nice, that it was a process. It was not just like pure talent and that's it. Nice to see that she also had to do the training and had to do the work, but sometimes it was a bit easy. Like there was one point in which she lost against one of the big masters and she got herself into a hole, depression, alcohol hole, and at some point she was like, right, I need to get out of this, and then she did, and that's it. So yeah, in that sense it was a little bit simplistic, but it was also a good story. The next book I read was The Thursday Murder Clubs by Richard Osman, and this is not a huge piece of literature or anything, but it was fun. I had a good time. The characters are very endearing. They remind me a little bit of Frederick Backman's characters, like Anxious People, a man called Uwe, that kind of feel to it, and I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a good time. Nothing special, but good. It follows 4 elderly people that have like a murder mystery kind of club at some point, and there is a murder of the person that owns the elderly homes they live in, and so they are trying to figure out what happened. And yeah, that's basically what this book is about. And I think that it was fun. It was well done. I did not see the twist until later on, and maybe that doesn't say much about the mystery, and it's more about me not knowing these kind of things, because I don't read many mysteries very often, but I thought it was fun. This book that I read was Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and this follows a girl that she's a soldier, and at some point they discover that she has these very super special powers, and she gets into the castle, and like they are trying to train her, and she thinks that they are training her for good, and then maybe it's not the case. And so yeah, that's the story. It was fun. The writing was good. I did not like Leigh Bardugo, at least from this is the 3rd book that I read from her, and she seems to always need her characters to have a love interest, which is very YA, I think, but also I don't appreciate. But other than that, it was fun. It was well written. I don't feel any need to follow the next book, but I enjoyed my time with this. So yeah. And then the last book that I finished is Private Rites by Julia Armfield, and this is about 3 sisters. 2 of them have one mom and are older, and then there is a younger sister from another mom, and they all get together because their dad has died, and they have to figure out inheritance, funeral stuff, but they do have a very troubled relationship with their dad. And so at the beginning of the book it kind of seems just like a family drama kind of stuff, and it gets weirder and weirder as you go. Like the end is very unsettling, and it kind of also makes the point that for a lot of the book I felt like it was just this family drama, but I knew that this was classified as horror, and I have read Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield, and so it just didn't fit quite with what I expected, and at the end that kind of gets explained, and there's a point in which it's kind of like about the little things that you don't notice until you really notice them. And so it made sense that was happening to me as well, that I didn't notice that it was horror until the very end, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's creepy. And so yeah, that was interesting. I think Julia Armfield is an amazing writer. I think she does a really good job at telling the story and building the atmosphere, and also the topics. Like I think the discussions that this book can start are very interesting. I actually read this for my book club, and we are discussing it in a couple of days, and I'm very excited because I think there are so many things to discuss, and it's one of those books that now that I know what is going on, I want to reread and get all the clues and understand better what the point of this book is. So yeah, I think this one was very good as well. I'm very happy I read it, and thus completes all the books that I read in October. As per the TBR for November, one of the books that I'm really looking forward to reading is The Struggle of the Few by James Islington. It comes out on the 11th of November and I have a pre-order of that. It's the second book in the Will of the Many duology, trilogy, I don't know how many books there are going to be. It's the second one and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm planning to read in November. But there are other books as well that I'm planning to read in November for different book clubs. The first one is The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker, which is a non-fiction about how people gather and make connections with each other and stuff like that. The second book for another book club is Endling by Maria Reva, which is, I think it was longlisted for the book. I don't think it made the short list, but it's about this woman that goes to Ukraine in search of this very rare snail, therefore snail, and she's in the middle of everything that has been happening in Ukraine lately, and I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be also very interesting. So yes. And then the last one, which I have mixed feelings about, is Butter by Asako Yuzuki, which is kind of a horror slasher sort of book. It's supposed to be feminist, but I have also heard it's fatphobic, and I don't know, I have heard very good and very bad things about it, so I don't know where I'm gonna fall into, but I want to try, and it's for the book club. So those are the 3 books that I have for book club, different book clubs this month, and I will hopefully read them all. And that's it for all the books that I want to read this month on November. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have read any of the books I mentioned, if you have any opinions on them, and until next video, bye!